I want to welcome everybody to the On the Mat podcast. I'm your host, Paul Robertson, and this show is dedicated to highlighting high school students. It's also to give these young men and young women the platform to tell their stories as they pursue their dreams in life. No matter what the dream is, remember, this is only the beginning. And with that being said, I'd like to introduce my first guest. Guest. This young man is an offensive and defensive lineman who holds above a 3.5 GPA, all while holding a part-time job. This young man is going into his senior year at Southgate High School here in California. I want to welcome Alex Ayala.
Thank you for having me. It's really a blessing. It's really a good thing for you to have me here, and especially it's an honor being the first guest. Thank you for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Had to get somebody on my team to be my first guest. Talk about hometown favors or hometown advantage. It is what it is.
Definitely.
Hey man, so thank you for being a guest on my show. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be on this platform, man. And I'm glad I'm giving you this opportunity to tell the world your story. Give some recruiters a little insight on the young man that they're trying to come get for their program. So I got a question for you. Well, obviously, but I got a couple questions for you, man. So there's been these videos going around, Twitter, Instagram, you name it, it's there, where you are benching 325 like 27 times. And you're squatting like 670, like 8 times, and you got chains on the bars. Young man, with everything you have going on, you have the part-time job, you're doing well in academics. Where do you find the time to push? Where do you find the time to work out as much as you do?
I think I find the time. Most definitely when you have a busy schedule or you just want something, you have to go get it. No matter what it is, you got to adjust to it. You got to adjust to whatever you want to do in life. If you know what it takes to be a Division I athlete, 7% of people are 7% are D1 athletes, 0.7 go to the NFL. It's that small percentage, and it's not even. I know it's not by a big gap. It's by the small steps and the attention to details. So in my mind, I think to myself, I obviously got a part-time job. I got to take school serious. Education comes first. Student athlete, it's in the name. So I realized to myself, I can't work out in the afternoons. And, team lives and team practices, although it's for the team. If I want to get better as an individual, I got to put the work in by myself when no one else is watching, when it's just me. I don't need music. I don't need anything else. I don't need someone in the back corner to congratulate me. I don't need none of that. I think all the grit and all the self-determination and discipline that I built is because of everything that I went through in the past and everything that I've seen, everything that I heard coaches talk about, players talk about, teammates talk about me. I think everything just comes within. And I feel like, no one's going to get it for you. And you have to accommodate yourself to the schedule and the commitment that you're going to make, no matter what you're going to do, whether it's a sport, whether it's a long-term goal. I just feel like you got to find it in yourself. So with that being said, I find the time. I wake up around 4 a.m. Shower, make my breakfast, meal prep for myself for the day. Head to the gym around 4:35, hit my stretches, hit my workout, whatever. Thankfully, I have a strength and conditioning coach that I still talk to this day. Thank you to Coach Miner for always being in my corner. So with that being said, whatever he has planned for me, whatever he thinks that I should hit this day or that day, I'm always thankful for him, and he's been, in my corner. So it usually starts out in the mornings, 4:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. And then from 6 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. is field work, whatever, whether it's acceleration, sprint day, or whether it's, focus on my position work, whether it's two gapping, my get off, anything that comes into that nature. And that's the schedule usually to Monday through Friday. Then I got school. This is when school is in session. I got school, I got practice. I get home at 7 p.m. I do my homework, I do what I got to do, and I repeat the whole process again. And that's just how it really goes. Now that it's in summer, usually how it goes, same thing. It's a habit now, and I love the habit. So with that habit, everything goes. I finish field work in weight room at 8:30 a.m. Then I go watch film sometimes. I like watching film. I feel like I'm a student of the game, and I feel like that's that attention to detail that gets you above not even by a percent. I just feel like it's a 0.5% that coaches look at and they're like, you know what, that's the guy I want for my team. And I know
Yeah,
that this game is about inches and it's about yards and centimeters and those little things that can get you the
yeah.
championship, that can get you the ring, that can get you anything. So it's always important to add those little things that make you a strong player and that makes your resume stronger as an athlete.
Wow, man. You're speaking very, very far in advance for your years, young man. I know that there are certain people that are older than you that don't even have a work ethic like that or have the ability to make sure that they're dedicated and they're committed to their craft. And it sounds like you are very committed to your craft. I've even seen a video of you where you're doing sled work in your front yard, it looks like.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Um, that doesn't just come, well, it does, like individuals build that on their own, but was there an example set for you that gave you that gave you that blueprint to make you work as hard as you work now?
Definitely. There has been people that have shown me the example and that have shown me an example of what not to be, in the future. I've seen the both worlds. I've seen what there is and what there shoulda, coulda, woulda been. And
Okay.
I've seen those type of people. I've seen a lot of those people everywhere, all around. And I've seen people, that small percent that make it, and I feel like it's best to, pick the brain of the people that are successful and whatever
Okay.
they do, they chose that path, they stick to it and they just, they tell me, they give me little advices that I can take, talk to the people that, could have made it, but they didn't make it because of the small things that they didn't do that they should have done. So I definitely get it from my dad. My dad's always been a very hard worker. He's had a rough childhood, had a rough past. Had to migrate at 13 years old, had to find a job here at 15. You know,
Okay.
lost his parents at 13. He became a man at a young age, and also my sister, she's also stepped into the mother figure. When I was very young, at 13 years old, she did everything she can to help me, and I always seen that fighter in both of them. I'd always seen them, make sure I was fed, make sure I had clothes on my back when I couldn't work. So I feel like I get that work ethic from them, and I owe it all to them. No matter what I do, I wake up every day knowing that I got to make them proud, and there's people that count on me to do something with my life.
That's right. That's right. Speaking of your dad and your sister, how instrumental are they in your everyday in your everyday?
My everyday, they're really good people. They check in with me sometimes. They're just that, like I said, they got to work sometimes. They got to work more than
Yeah.
usual because of the hand they were dealt with. But, it doesn't stop them from being good people. They check up on me. They make sure that I'm okay. They make sure I'm fed. They make sure I got clothes on my back. Make sure that I'm doing good mentally, emotionally, physically. And I thank them for that because I know there's a lot of people that are unfortunate with parents like that. So
Right.
I really thank God that He gave me parents like that. I count my sister as a parent.
Yeah.
So with that being said, they're very instrumental. They're there for me. Obviously, every family has its own things. Every person that's bonded with somebody so close are going to have their arguments. They're going to have their little moment of spite, but they're very into my life, and I thank God for that.
That's right. So speaking a little bit more, diving in a little bit more into your dynamic with your dad. Um, I know this isn't your first job, so you want to talk about the first time you had a job at 13 and like
Yeah.
what were some of the things that you were doing?
So I started working with my dad and my uncle. So for my dad, I did tree trimming, and with my uncle, I did roofing.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so it was definitely something that I always wanted to do as a kid because my dad always told me when I was young that nothing's free in life. You always
Right.
have to. Everything comes with the cost, no matter what it is. It could be an emotional cost, it could be a mental cost, physical cost. You know, economic cost. Everything comes with the cost, right? So tell me, you want something, you got to go get it. That's always been applied in my brain. It's been installed in my brain. So, I wanted some new Jordans. I had to go work for him. My dad wasn't just going to get it for me because he also didn't want me to be spoiled as well. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's a lot of things with a lot of parents. Like, I don't want to give my kid everything because they're going to become spoiled. They're going to be bratty. But
Right.
my dad just wasn't very fortunate enough to, make that much, in the salary for him to splurge on me. I know he did everything he could. He took me out on weekends to burger joints because, that was our kind of victory lap to success. That, hey, we got a good paycheck. Let's go out to eat. Like, for example,
That's right.
this place called Boulevards right here in Bell. Always loved that spot. I remember
Okay.
every day, every weekend, I would go with my dad. We'd get some burgers. So, more of the story, yeah, I started working at 13 to 15 years old. I worked there for 2 years, consistent. You know, he taught me a lot of things that I can use for in my future home. Everything as far as even life lessons. Everything. He tried to implement a life lesson in with I'm very thankful for. So everything's been okay. Yeah.
That's dope, man. That's dope. I have to shout out your dad and everybody that's had an instrumental part in raising you. I also know you have a couple other people that have had a hand in grooming you to the young man that you've become and that you are becoming. Can you talk a little bit about them, who they are, and how they've impacted your life?
Of course. First I want to start off with, a man that I met, a year and a half ago, maybe, a year ago. I'd like to give a big shout out to my head coach, Coach Cisco. He's been a very good man to me. Him knowing that, the position that I was in, he always tried to lend a helping hand to me. Every time I had my rivals combine, for example, he was there. He always made sure I showed up. Every time I had something football related, when it comes to the next level, or when there's like a crowd, he always make sure that I was prepared. He always make sure that someone was taking me. He always made sure that I was okay. If I was fed, I really thank him for that. Every time I go with them, he always makes sure that I'm okay. He always makes sure I'm fair. And that's something that you can't buy. Money can't buy that. Money can't buy love. Money can't buy, that passion that he has for kids that he works with and kids that he coaches for. Not a lot of coaches have that in them. And another person I want to shout out is, you know, uh, my girlfriend's dad too as well, and her
That's
mom.
what's up.
They're
Yeah,
very
yeah.
they've been very good people to me, and whenever there's the highs and lows in life, they've always been those people that they make me take 10 steps back to take one forward, and I really appreciate them for that.
That's dope, man. Shout out to the people that are in the village that are raising a child, because they are doing a very great job and you are exhibiting tremendous amounts of not only leadership, young man, but you are doing things that a lot of people in our community don't get to do. With that being said, what are some of the challenges that not like yeah, what are some of the challenges that you would say that people in our community face?
There's a lot, and I would like to get this long story short. My freshman year, I used to go to this one high school. I'm not going to say anything because, I don't want anything to go around. But
Right.
everyone knew that I wasn't from the community. And I don't want to make myself the victim. I don't want to make myself like, oh, everyone was against me. All odds were against me. Everyone fits in or they don't. It's high school. Everyone's going to fit in somewhere. But for me, I just couldn't find a place to fit in. Because I would take the bus to that high school. It was like 20 minutes away. But I took the 111, which is on Florence and Eastern. It took me all the way to Florence and Lakewood. I would
Yep.
wake up at 5 a.m. I would walk it. So I'd wake up like at 4 or 4:30 a.m., have my clothes ready the day before and just go to school, go to morning lips, and, things like that. It was a consistent thing, but I loved it because I knew it was like a fresh start for me. Because
Yeah.
knowing the troublemaking kid I was, or that kid that people didn't think was going to go far in life, even my teacher said it, I knew I was doing something right because I woke up for something and I wanted it. I wanted to go
Yeah.
get it. And for me at that time, going to a new school, playing a new sport, football, it was like a gateway for me. So I was like, oh man, I got to go for it. It sounded like a money dream. So I went
Okay.
and go do it. But long story short, things happened. And, some people think that everyone that comes from a certain area are the same. Whether a word I want to use is, some people call us institutionalized, and
Okay.
I don't know what that word meant, until I searched it up and I told my teacher about it in Southgate High School. Shout out to Southgate High School as well. Very good teachers, very good staff, and she told me the meaning of the word, and she said that basically it's when someone is in a place and they don't change and they stay implemented that way, you
Okay.
know. And I'm assuming in the context that the person said was that everyone from our community, you know, they go out one way, they enter life one way, and they leave the same way. Whether it's by death or by involving themselves in the wrong groups, the wrong people, or
Right.
maybe the only way they knew in life. So I feel like a lot of people in our community face is like, a lot of, people say it's cliche, but it's the same thing. It's Los Angeles. It's a very low economic place in Los Angeles. It's a lot of things go hand in hand, whether it's gang violence or, abusive homes, abusive relationships, missing father figures, missing mother figures, missing roles, bad parents, bad parenthood, bad neighborhood, bad brotherhood, anything in those lines. A lot of things that they see, environmental wise. So I feel like there's a million places to go wrong, especially where we are. And especially in the year that we are in, 2024, there's a million places we could go wrong. So it's very hard
Yeah.
to stay in one lane and stay corrected because most of us don't even know what the top is. None of us know what the top is, especially we're here right now. We're getting there. We're trying to get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of adversity, especially I can't possibly name all of them.
No, 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 no. Hey, but the fact that you're able to see those things goes into what type of young man you are, and the way you think about things and the way you view things and the way you see things is very, very unique to see, because you don't see that in a lot of youth or young adults these days. Um, Now you talked about finding football.
Sure.
Let's get into that. When did you first start playing football, and how did that come about?
Well, I originally started playing football when I was 13 because this is when
Okay.
quarantine hit. And people say it's crazy. My brother makes fun of me all the time, but I never really told people why I started playing football. And it's because it was this Netflix show. I was binge watching it all the time. And I was a seventh grader going to an eighth grader, and I was like, man, is this gonna be high school? Like so high school is? And that show was, none other than All American, right?
Yeah.
People are telling me all the time. Like my brother makes
Yeah.
fun of me all the time because of it. He's like, man, nobody started playing over a Netflix show. But in my mind, I was like, man, I want a high school experience like that. I want to be a star player. I want to be involved. In my mind, I want it to matter, and I wanted to have a different identity. In a school. That's why I kind of gateway to a different district, a different school. That was my mind. That was my idea. That was my plan.
Yeah.
So yeah, originally, and then I knew that it was a grind. I always talked about it. I always heard about it. Oh, the football grind, the football grind. So with that being said, I remember had a lot of video games. I used to play a lot of video games, and I sold
Okay.
it. It was during quarantine. I'm like, man, I got to get myself some equipment. So I got myself a boxing bag. Actually, I didn't get the boxing bag. Uh, this is gonna sound pretty weird, but this is how it was. This is how it all started. So my dad used to tree trim at the LA Fitness on Firestone and Firestone, and it's by Party City. So
Okay.
it's in Firestone, and I believe it's on Firestone and Garfield. There you go, Firestone and
Right. Right.
Garfield.
Right.
And he would tell me like, "Oh yeah, man. Sometimes they leave equipment out there. They just throw it out. We could get
Yeah.
some. We get something. We get something going." I was like, "All right, cool, Dad." So we got the truck. We saw some. We saw a boxing bag. We saw some coins. We're like, let's take that. We took it.
Yeah.
Hit it in the backyard. I used it as a little bag. I always wanted to be a D lineman. I've always watched Reggie White, Aaron Donald. As soon as I heard football, Aaron Donald was in the mix. Reggie White was in the mix. LT, Khalil Mack, all these people I aspire to be. Recently right now is Byron Sweat or Byron Murphy actually. Texas
Okay.
guy, 6 foot, 280. I always aspire to be like those guys. So it always started like that. I would always try to upscale. So first it started with some bags I found on the side, because they were too old. I used those.
Hey, that can
Some
happen.
yeah, I got some Amazon equipment, and that's really just how it started. And then my mom, my parents, they didn't know nothing about football. They only knew soccer,
Okay.
Hispanic
Yeah. Yeah.
house. So even when it comes to this day, they don't know nothing about football. That's why most of the time when I have football events, I ask, my defensive coordinator, Coach Paul, or my head coach,
Hey.
Coach Cisco, to come, because they know more than they know. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that sometimes they don't know how important things are. So I don't want it to be undervalued either. I know that there's a
Right.
lot of accomplishments that I've made and that I still have to be made in this game of football. But sometimes you need a parent or an adult to speak up for you. And I know that as much as I love them and I love them to my heart, I know sometimes they're not going to understand the game. So
Right.
they really can't help me there. But that's really how I started, Coach. I knew that there was a grind. I knew there was a different hunger for it. So I would find any piece of equipment I can, and I could correlate it to the game of football. And that's just really how it started.
That's cool, man. Hey, so you talked about to come. You were recently named a preseason All Star,
Yes, sir.
and you guys had your meeting at Fairfax High School.
Yes,
Tell me a
sir.
little bit about that, and how was that experience?
Oh, it was cool, Coach. We met Coach Burgess. We met John Elway, and we met a all-time receiver at the Pac-12 or Big 12. I'm not really sure. Washington State alumni, Venice alumni, Venice High School alumni. We met those guys. We met a lot of people. They helped us with a lot of finance. Because they taught us a lot about life after football. Because
Okay.
sometimes us as football players, we have identity crisis. sometimes football doesn't work out, and then we're like, who
Right.
am I? Who am I now? What am I going to do now in life? I don't have a plan B. This is my plan A. This is all I have. So they taught us a lot about the plan B and that it's okay to have a plan B. We talked a lot to a lot of college guys, a lot of college coaches. They told us where we're going to play. They give us a lot of wealth, especially in the game of football. They gave us a lot of connections. They gave us a lot of, press. They gave us something to look forward to after season. You know,
Okay.
and it's true. I guess you could say that everyone in that room was the cream of the top in the city section. If they
Okay.
were need to be named preseason All Star. So I think it's a pretty cool and it's an honorable experience that my coach elected me to be there. I'm glad that my coach can see that. So it was a pretty amazing experience.
That's dope. The reason I asked that question is because you, amongst, I want to say, there's not too many that have the opportunity that you have going into this year. You have the opportunity to not only become a first team all city section nose guard, but you also have the opportunity to become a first team all city offensive guard. Talk a
Sure.
little bit about how excited you are to have the opportunity to excel in both positions and in a tough division, because your school is Division 1
Yes, sir.
in a city that is full of top athletes.
Definitely. And I feel like thank you, coach, for bringing that up. And I feel like that's very overlooked. We were talking about that in the All Star, auditorium. We were saying that city section gets overlooked because we don't got enough money that a lot of schools have. We don't have the facilities. We don't got the coaches. We don't got the coaches. Obviously, there's a lot of coaches that there's no money. There's no time for them. But, city section is a different type of grit. We talked about that. That's a learn. We got injured in our brain, grit. Everyone from city section has that grit, so more importantly, I'm excited about offensive guard, nose tackle. That's a requirement. I got to get was mine. I got to get the highest accomplishment I can. I got to be a high achiever on that, and that's just how I hold myself accountable. But I'm excited with the people that I'm going to be playing with. Most importantly, I'm excited with my teammates. I want to win with my teammates. I want to win with the coaching staff that my head coach put along. I love playing for the coaches. I love playing for the program. I love playing for the brother right next to me, and for the people that are going to wear the jersey after me, and the people that wore the jersey before me. So most importantly, I'm just happy to be there, happy to play, and just put everything I work for in action. That's just how I see it.
Okay, okay, okay. Speaking about the people before you and the people that come after you, um, last year, the team faced a little bit of adversity.
Yes, sir.
Not well, the team did, but you did mostly.
Sure.
And I kind of want to highlight how you've overcome that adversity, because last year you were only able to play 2 games.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit of how that felt, watching your team go into battle and not be able to help them in any way that you could?
Sure. So I feel like with that, it definitely hurt because, you know, my first year there was my sophomore year, and it was quite an experience. I was new to the school, new to the program. I jumped in straight to football season, not knowing who I was going, to war with, as people would
Yeah,
say. So fast forward to that, a lot of guys left that they felt like they made it the whole team. We can
yeah,
say there's 4 guys, 3 guys, whatever the case may be. So we got left, our whole, there was an old coaching staff that left, the whole coaching staff left, and we got our current coach right now, Coach Saldana. He brought our defense coordinator, Coach Sosa, which now coaches at Marquez, and he brought, a very, good guy and a very good coach that I love to be coached by. His name's Coach Shui, and Coach Sergio. Those guys really poured their heart out, with everything that they could, because I believe it was only 4 coaches last season in total that made it through the whole season, which was Coach Ricardo, Coach Saldana, Coach Sergio, and Coach Chewy. That's really all
right.
it was, and we won a war with them. Whether we were victorious or we lost, we won a war, and it really did suck because I feel like the team really did need me. They needed depth, they needed players, they needed people that you know just wanted to be there, and I was one of
Yeah,
those guys. And unfortunately, I couldn't play. So it did suck knowing that we were the talk of the league, we were the talk of the city, and there was
right.
nothing I can do or say about it because I wasn't suited up. I wasn't at war with them. And the look I would get from my peers when they're like, "You should be out there. You should be out there. Why are you not out there?" and all I got to do is shrug my shoulders and say I couldn't. And I
Yeah.
was a shoulda, coulda, woulda guy last year, but this year is not going to be like that. And I can manifest it and hold myself accountable through this podcast because I know this is going to be on here until years and days go by, hopefully, so I could look at myself and say I'm accountable to whatever I'm gonna say right now.
Hey,
So yeah,
that's great to hear because for the viewers, the Southgate High School Rams last year, like as Mr. Ayala said, they were short staffed. There was only 4 coaches. Coach Sosa ended up going to Marquez for whatever reason. He You guys did face a lot of adversity and you guys did go 0-10, but knowing that you guys were capable of doing better and you guys, for whatever reason, the cards weren't in your favor. Um, Taking a look at last year's team compared to this year's team, what would you say is the difference between that team and this team?
I just feel like the difference is that everyone's all in. No one's playing for themselves. No one's playing to look good on camera, or I hope not, because I hope
Yeah,
those people are gone by now. No disrespect to anybody, but I feel like everyone that's suited up right now that's going to suit up in 5 weeks are playing for the brother right next to them, and they're playing for the city, the pride that the city holds, and the city has been holding for a long while now. And I really appreciate that, and I'm really proud of that because last year was you know, no shade to my teammates. They were very talented. They were very determined. They showed up to practice when they didn't need to. They looked at the season. They were like, man, I'm still going to show out. I'm still going to ball out because I made a promise to myself. Everyone has a reason to play football, whatever the reason was, whatever kept them going. But
right.
this year, there's a lot of hungry kids, a lot of kids with chip on their shoulder, a lot of kids that I've met this year that have a chip on their shoulder as well, whether they were underappreciated at another school, whether they were somewhere else where they didn't feel appreciated, whether
Yeah,
they didn't feel appreciated enough by their own school, especially people that are still playing that played last year. They want to
right.
turn it all around, because they're tired of hearing the talk. They're tired of being disrespected. They're tired of people disrespecting their team, their culture, their tradition, because people don't understand how much football holds in a football player's life. When there's a lot of people talking smack, people talking, people get tired of that. So I feel
Yeah.
like this year, especially this season, with the coaching staff, the talented coaching staff we got, and the talented kids with a lot of grit and hunger, we're gonna make some noise, or we're gonna run over some people, man, if they don't want to move out. They
Yeah.
better.
Like I can totally relate to your situation last year. Only because when I was in high school, we had, I want to say, well, I am going to say, so my sophomore year, our varsity team went 2-8. My junior year, we went 1-9. And then my senior year we went 4-6, but my senior year we turned it around. And the one thing I can say was, going into my senior year we decided to play for each other, um rather than, oh, that they're the seniors, this is their team, and all that other crap that goes along with it. And I know that having losing seasons, there comes a lot of negativity from your peers, from certain people around the city, because the one thing we didn't have back in the day was social media, but now social media is very, very present. So my question to you is how do you deal with the negativity that does come your way because of last season?
I think I just ignore it. There's a lot of it and a ton of it coming. It keeps coming. A lot of it I dropped in the past. A lot of things that keep coming, and just they're not gonna stop. There's always gonna be people talking, whether it's good or bad. That's just human instinct. We do. We like to talk. We love to talk. What's new? What's hot? What's going on? What's a big turning factor? And I just feel like you got to realize that people are always gonna talk, no matter if you do right or wrong, good or bad. So I guess the one thing you can do is just make sure they talk good.
Yeah.
You know you're doing everything good, you're doing everything right, and you're pushing yourself, not only you, but you're pushing your team, your teammates. I've always had faith in my teammates. When people say, oh, like, you should have left, people say, why are you there? Look at the season you guys had. I don't pay attention to that at all because, I don't know if I say this enough, but there's a difference between playing for a team and playing with the family. There's a big difference between those lines. And I
Yeah.
feel like at Southgate is definitely a family there, especially with my big guys, my linemen. We hold each other very accountable and very true to each other. We show up to lifts, optional lifts, whenever we can. We get some work by ourselves. And I feel like that just separates people from a good team to a championship team. And I feel like I hold it beneath my heart. I think we're going to be we are going to be a championship team this year. And I know it. I know it. I can feel it. I envision it. I manifest it. And that's just how it's going to go.
Man, I love to hear it. Now, speaking about trying to become a championship team, and the only reason that I can say that I completely agree with what you're saying is because I am your defensive coordinator and I do see you guys on a daily basis. But for the people that don't see you on a daily basis, what would you say that gives you that feeling? Like, what is it that goes on with your teammates that you have that gives you the sense of pride to be like, yo, this year we're gonna make a run and surprise some people?
I feel like definitely there's one thing that people, undervalue and underlook is they even correct me. I'm a senior. They correct me. People could say that, oh, this guy benches, this guy squats, this guy had a calm mindset. They still correct me, and I don't get mad at them. I don't like, who are you to correct me? Heck no. I
Yeah.
tell them, I got you. Yes, sir. That's all I say in practice, coach, you're there. I say yes, sir, and no, sir, because that's just how I go. That's just how I am in the game. I respect everyone I play with, whether they're on JV, Frost, incoming freshmen. I always got to respect them, always got to tell them because that means they're in the game. I'm not going to be that guy that's going to, chip that light away from them. If they feel confident and they feel like they're learning something and they have the feeling to correct me, do so. I could be wrong
Yeah.
too. I'm a human. Just because I'm a senior, just because I work, amount of hours, just because I do this, and that, I can mess up sometimes, and I feel like that's just different. The ego. There's a lot of ego. People have ego. They're like, oh, who are you to check me? I feel like our linemen don't have ego at all. They realize they mess up. They realize they're not perfect, and that's what makes people good because they can be coachable.
Yeah.
Being coachable goes a long way. Being a championship, it goes a long way because if you're not coachable, you can't go anywhere. And that's one thing I learned since day one. A coach loves a player that's coachable.
Absolutely.
They don't like a diva. That's one thing I learned.
Yeah.
I've seen it firsthand. So there's always one thing I got to say to the linemen, and they got to tell me is listen to the coach.
Yeah.
Not to be say any bad vocabulary, but they just shut up and listen.
Yeah.
Everyone lineman tells each other that shut up and listen to coach. That's just what it is. Don't talk back. Say yes sir, no sir, and deal with it. Don't get
Yeah.
emotional. Don't get in your feelings. And that's just how it goes, man. Football's business at the end of the day. You got no time to be like, coach yelled at me, coach cussed at me. You don't got time for that, man. You got to worry about the next play. You got to worry about the guy you're going against. You got to worry about that reach block, that double team. You got to worry about all that things. You don't got to worry about what coach said to you or how the coach look at you. You don't got to worry about all that. If you worry about that, man, that's your problem, So I just feel like
Yeah.
that's the difference between last year and this year in a championship team, is to being coachable and being able to listen and being able to be coached hard or soft, whatever it may be. You just got to be ready for it.
Exactly. Hey, so speaking about next year, I'm looking at the rankings from last year, right?
Yeah.
For the people that don't know, Garfield High School in East Los Angeles has been a powerhouse in the Eastern League for a very long time. There's some things that have transpired over the summer or over the spring, over the summer, where some of their key pieces may have left, right? But looking at the overall records from last year, you had Garfield at 6-0, Huntington Park and Legacy at 4-2. You had Roosevelt at 3-3, Bell and Southeast both at 2-4. And I'm speaking in league records, not overall, but in league. And then obviously our school, or your school. Well, it is our school. So our school went 0-6.
Sir.
Knowing what you have as far as, we'll say, chess pieces right now, who are you most eager to play this year and why?
I would definitely say it might be the other way around. I feel like what team's eager to play me, and I feel like
Ooh,
that's a bold
elaborate.
thing.
Gotta
That's a bold thing.
elaborate.
I will elaborate on that, coach. I promise you. So there's been a lot of talk. Like you said, social media is very present.
Right.
I'm a dude that just likes to put my head down and just grind. I feel like I'm that type of dude. If I'm not, someone could come in my DMs and correct me, but they can send a screenshot of me talking smack. But that's just not who I am. I choose not to be that person because you wake up and choose who you want to be every day, what type of person you
Exactly.
want to be every day. But I'm just the type of person to put my head down and just set the example because people learn by actions, not by words. I can't be that guy on the team that wants to be a leader, but I'm over here acting like a diva and I'm acting like I can't be coached. I can't be that person. That's not the example I'm trying to set, not the blueprint I want to put out, and not the tradition I want to keep going. I want to shut
Facts.
those traditions off. I want to keep everybody coachable, and I know that I can't do that without them. This is not a we. This is not a team that goes by 3 people or 4 people. This is a team that's built by player, by whatever your second string backup. This is a team that is built by each other, not by just one person. If this one person subs out, oh my God, where's the team at? It's not that type of team, and I
We
refuse
have
to be that
layers.
team ever. So I feel like, yeah, I forgot I was talking about, coach. I kind of just went off for a minute.
It's all right. It's all right. Let me get you back on track.
Yeah,
So throughout all the teams that are in our league, as you were saying, that social media is very present.
sir,
Um, you said that there's going to be some teams eager to play you,
sir,
but and I honestly feel since you're going to be one of the top defensive linemen and offensive linemen, everybody's going to want to play you.
sir,
But based off of last year's results going into this year and hearing some of the noise, we'll call it noise because
sir,
it's all talk at the end of the day.
sir.
Who do you look forward to going to battle against the most this upcoming season?
Uh, Definitely
School wise.
every team that is in our league, is in our preseason. I know we're talking about specifically about league. I'm eager and excited to play everyone
That's
and
right.
anyone.
Okay.
Whoever I line up against, whoever with whatever team I go against, whatever home I'm at. If I'm at my home, Herd Field, or if I'm at another home, for me it doesn't matter who I line up against. All I know is that you're in my way to the quarterback, and you either move or I move you. That's just all I know, and that's all I know.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I love it.
So that's just how I'm going into it. But if we're going to specifics, there's a right tackle in Bell High School, somewhere around Bell, California, named Frankie. It's all love at the end of the day, but
Yeah.
it's football. Football. I know some guys at Legacy O line, much love to them. It's all excited. It's all the eagerness and all the nervousness, but man, it's football at the end of the day. You gotta love it. You
Yeah.
gotta love the rivalry. You gotta love the sportsmanship. You gotta love my guys at Southeast as well. It's all love to everyone at the league at the end of the day. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
football's football. You're on my way to the quarterback. You move or I'll move you, and that's just how I'm gonna keep it.
Hey, man. Hey, it is. And for the viewers that don't know what he's talking about, the Eastern League is a very, very close in circumference league, which I'm pretty sure a lot of leagues around the country are. But we have 3 high schools within 3 miles of each other. We have Legacy, Southgate, and Southeast. Huntington Park is another 3 miles, but going to the north. Um, I would say and Bell is right there as well. The only 2 schools that are maybe 20, 30, well, I'd say about 25 minutes on a bad day with traffic, it could be worse, are
Mm.
Roosevelt and Garfield. So when he talks about how close in circumference this conference is, we are very close. They are very close. So a lot of these kids grew up with each other. And I'm excited to see what this competition, because a lot of you guys are now starting to hit your peak. Um, your class is probably if not, I want to say one of the most exciting classes to watch this year. If you could name, well, you named Frankie from Bell. If you could name a opposing player that you are eager to go against, but just to see how they do this year, because we're all about giving flowers too. They'll probably get their opportunity to be on the show. Who would it be?
Definitely. There's a handful of guys that I'm going to mention. It's all love. I know they put in as much work in as the next man, and the next man they
Right.
want to be great. But there's definitely, little quarterback from Legacy, by the name of Nate. Heard about him, never talked to him directly, but I've seen
Yeah.
that he puts work in. Seems like a good dude. The only thing that sucks is that that Friday night, it's gonna be me against him. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I would definitely want to see that man be successful. I definitely want to see him. Because I feel like you get in what you deserve in this sport, and I feel like that's just how the law of life should be. Sometimes it's not like that.
Right.
I would definitely want to see, my guy Nathan from Legacy, shine, and my guy Frankie from Bell. But most importantly, one of my guys at Garfield, number 3, Jay Garcia, definitely a guy. He's a guy right there, man.
Hey,
That's one person.
Jay's the man. Hey, I trip out on this. World's small. His uncle was my downstairs neighbor when I lived in Whittier.
Wow,
Yeah. Yep. So Jay Garcia, man, that kid is a baller. He's a two-sport athlete. So shout out to him.
definitely. And I know it's a opposing team, but there's a guy, that I came in contact with so long ago. Now we're playing on the same team, but I got to give it to my guy, Junior. Junior number 1 from a former school. I definitely want to give it to him, man. He seems like a hardworking, seems like a dedicated young man.
Yes, sir.
Seems like a man that plays with a chip on his shoulders. He seems like a young man. Whether his age is great, seems like a guy that's all about football and is going to keep being all about football, and that's just
Yeah.
how it should be. And I admire that about him. I like that. Football player is a football player. You're going to recognize it from 10 miles away.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah.
guy that
Real
plays with a chip on
recognize
his
real,
shoulder
baby.
and doesn't play around. So I'm definitely excited to see his growth and how he goes on this year.
Hey, I love it. Real recognize real. My next question for you is what
Sir.
do you hope to accomplish not only individually, but collectively for next year? Let's start
Uh,
individually. What do you hope to accomplish individually at the end of the season?
I feel like
Individually.
at the end of the season, individually, I want to be Defensive Player of the Year. I know we got a lot of great competition, got a lot of great guys, especially in city section, that are very undervalued, underlooked at. There's some ballers, some guys, there's some dogs that have the same grit, have the same chip on their shoulder. But then that just gets into who's been working and who's not been working and who wants it more.
Yeah.
And, I believe it deep in my heart, actually louder than words. So I'm not going to say too much, but I know that I definitely wanted more. So that's just like my individual goal is to be Defensive Player of the Year and get all the accolades I need to fill in my athletic resume, which is first team, Defensive Player of the Year. And that's just how I was going to go.
Nice. Now, what is your goal for the entire team?
Okay, and this is what matters to me the most. I know that I want to excel, being an athlete individually, but most importantly, of the team that's going to excel after me. And I really look forward to that. So I think as a team, I definitely want the tradition to change and the blueprint to change. Because I feel like a lot of people at schools, they have the impression of someone that's being a collegiate athlete as being rude, being in their own world, acting like they're a single player, acting like, their egos through the roof. And I feel like, that statistics change. I think a collegiate athlete, especially someone that's going to the next level, should set an example, a good example to young men that want to be that way. Because not only are you preparing them for the world, they look up to you in a way that, as an older brother, and there's one thing I know is that, I guess I can say I didn't have a good older brother growing up. So I've always told myself I want to be a good older brother to whoever thinks that I'm an older brother to them. So I always make sure that, everyone's okay mentally, emotionally, and there's some things in junior year, senior year that you're going to learn, sophomore year, any day, you're going to learn something new. And you got to make sure to make the correct decision. If the coach gets on your ass, man, you're going to get a job one day. Your manager's going to be on your ass too.
Yep.
You learn how to deal with that. You're not going to talk back. You lose your job. You lose your paycheck. Whatever you got to pay, you're losing it now. So next time a coach talks to you, you better shut up and listen because at the end of the day, they want what's best for you. So I feel like a lot of kids just need to learn that because they haven't learned that yet. So
Yeah.
my goal overall is to learn that the team is a better team, traditionally respectful, with good attitude and good representation as a city. So whatever city they go to, whether we go to a UCLA 7-on-7 tournament or a Baldwin Park lineman comp, they know, okay, that's Southgate. City section team, very respectful, very resilient, and very dedicated. And that's all we know. We don't know about no kids that ghetto. We don't know about no kids that think they're all about them, all about me. I don't want none of that. That's been the the talk for so long, and I honestly
Yeah.
think we want it to change for us, as a community, because I feel like we don't deserve that.
Wow. He literally could have gave an answer talking about I want my team to win a championship. I want my team to do this. And you gave a response that talks about changing the culture, not only for a school, but for a community. Man, I'm so blessed to have you on my team. My next statement is for any college coaches that are out there that are looking for a young man that is the epitome of your core values. Alex Ayala, will not only embody them, he will be the definition for you. Alex, I want to thank you for giving me your time. And before we go, if there's anything that you'd like to tell our viewers, tell the world, now's your time.
Definitely, I definitely like to appreciate everyone for the support. A lot of people they heard about me talking about football in 8th grade, and then what school I should go to, what school is good, looking at about max preps, looking everything up, doing my research on everything.
Uh-huh.
Now the time is the time, and I was telling my girlfriend right now, I was telling her, like, it's so weird seeing people recognize me and speaking good about me, because that wasn't the case a few years back, with a lot of people. I was never really spoke highly about. So I'm really glad, and I feel very content, but not accomplished, of, being invited to this podcast. No matter if it's if it's the first one, no matter if it gets 2 views, 5 views, 10 views, I know that in your heart, you felt like I was going to be a good guest, and I appreciate you for that, Coach. And I appreciate my
Absolutely.
team. I appreciate my team, for having my back, for my head coach to have my back, all the people that are adults that take care of me, to trust me, and to, be like, this young man, I wanna give him that shoulder to lean on, because I feel like he's gonna be a good young man. And I definitely sincerely don't want to let those people down. Whether there's college coaches, high school coaches, people I knew since my childhood. I just want to make people happy, and I want to be the best man I can be every day.
That's right. Hey, this young man, his ats are Alex.Ayala with 2 A's, the number 10. You can find him on Twitter or X, and you can find him on Instagram with the same handle. Young man, your future is very bright. I thank you for your time once again. And with that being said, this is the first episode of On the Mat, and this is only the beginning. Y'all take care. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, comment. Till next episode. Peace.